answer it. You want to know the truth. But as we rescue our economy, I will restore our borders because I think that's your biggest problem. I do. They're destroying our country. They're putting dangerous people. Look at these beautiful people. You'll be interspersed with murderers, drug dealers, terrorists. Do we have any in the house right now? Are there any people? Over the past 4 years, Kamala has orchestrated the most egregious betrayal that any leader in American history has ever inflicted on our people. She's violated her oath, eradicated our sovereign border, and unleashed an army of gangs and criminal migrants from prisons and jails, insane asylums and mental institutions all around the world, from the Congo in Africa to Venezuela. You know, Venezuelan crime is down like 72%, right? Because they put their criminals into the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you. Our stupid leaders. And they're stealing countless American lives. You'll see that in a couple of minutes. It's horrible what's going on. It's a terrible situation. Today I want to hear directly from a mother whose world has been absolutely shattered. This is a young, beautiful mother who I met at one of the rallies, and we said, "Do you mind if we do this?" She was so dead. I had some of the toughest people I've ever seen with me. They were all crying when they saw this. Wait till you see this, please.
Sunday night, I asked her to not stay up super late because of her coming to work with me in the morning first to do her summer school. She said, okay. I told her good night and I love you. I went to bed, not realizing that that was going to be the last time I saw her.
We're best friends.
Yeah. We're going to shake it again.
I woke up to notice she wasn't in her bed. I'm in my heart trying not to lose my mind because I don't know where she is. I finally remembered her phone had a location on, and her phone was pinging just 2 minutes down the road, right behind the skate park. I start driving to the direction the phone was being pinged at, and I see a couple cop cars with lights on. I see yellow tape, and immediately my heart drops and sinks to the bottom of my stomach. My daughter's hands and ankles were both bound. She was strangled to death, left with no pants. And I know in my heart, she fought incredibly hard. She was not going down without a fight.
We begin with two men we're learning are charged with capital murder tonight, accused of killing a 12-year-old girl.
Police say these men strangled her before dumping her into that creek. Both men were in the country illegally.
Apprehended, then released by Border Patrol less than 3 weeks before Jocelyn's death. The men accused of killing Jocelyn Nungare are affiliated with the gang known for brutal violence.
Kamala Harris was in charge of immigration in our borders. If we had better border policies and not open borders and not these catch and release policies, I truly believe this all could have been prevented. Under her being vice president of this country, my daughter's life was ripped away from her. She had her entire life ahead of her.
Happy birthday, dear Jocelyn.
My daughter is 6 feet in the ground, based off of policies that she allowed to keep. Kamala Harris did have one job, and she not only failed, not me, she failed my daughter. She failed Jocelyn. You know, she was only 12. President Trump reached out, gave me his sincerest condolences as not a former president, but just as a father, someone who cares. I believe Donald Trump needs to be back in office. I can at least know that my next child will be safe in this country.
This is what we're letting into our country. This is what we're letting in. And you could take that scene and multiply it times thousands, whether it's on highways, whether it's just shootings, plane shootings. These are rough people, rough people. And we can't take it. And it's the worst thing that's happening to our country. I think it's the worst thing that's happened to our country in decades. Nobody's ever even imagined a thing where other countries will take their prisons and open them and drop everybody, thousands of their prisoners. You know what they saved by doing that? And I know most of the heads of these countries. It's like they can't believe they got away with it. And as soon as I heard we were going to have open borders, I said, I know immediately that that's what's going to be done. They're opening their jails and their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're becoming empty. Some are already empty, but all over the world, this isn't just in South America. It's not just Guatemala, Mexico, Honduras. You know, you think in terms of a little close. These are all over the world. Big in the Congo, big. They're sending them over, big, tough. They're tough, and they're mean, The day I take the oath of office, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. The savages charged with brutalizing and murdering Precious, Jocelyn, are members of the same vicious Venezuelan prison gang, Tren de Aragua, that's taking over apartment complexes and unleashing violent killing sprees all over America. All over America. Think of it. They're in Colorado. I think Colorado's going to vote for Trump. You know what they did? They were the ones that led the thing to get me up. I was the leading candidate of both parties, leading the Republicans and leading the Democrats 1-1. I was the leading candidate. And then they talk about a threat to democracy. And that governor, a radical left lunatic who's petrified of the gangs that are taking over his state, this guy went and told his people to try and get me off the ballot. Can you imagine that? That would have been a fine mess. That would have been a fine mess for the country, wouldn't it? And went to the Supreme Court of the United States, won 9-0, because even the justices that were liberally inclined, they said, we can't do that. You got to beat them at the ballot box. It was very heartwarming to see it as a 9-0. But this governor in Colorado did it. And you know who hated him the most? Are the Democrats in Colorado. They thought it was terrible. The United States is now an occupied country, but it will soon be an occupied country no longer. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. Liberation Day. And on day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. I will rescue every city and town that has been invaded and conquered. These towns have been conquered. Think of what that means. Conquered. And we will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country immediately. And to expedite removals of Tren de Aragua criminals and MS-13 criminals, which are just about as bad. We took out thousands of MS-13s. You know, they loved Long Island. Isn't that nice? You know, two beautiful girls, 16 years old, were walking to school one day, and MS-13 attacked the two girls, and they sliced them up with knives. They didn't want to shoot them because that's too quick and not painful enough. They killed both girls. And it's lucky that we have ICE around because ICE was extremely good. They were extremely good. And this fool that we have running for president without having gotten one single vote to his 14 million votes, this fool wanted to defund ICE. We want to defund ICE. If you defunded ICE, you had nobody that's tough enough to go in there and get these animals out of our country. She wanted to defund ICE. I will invoke and this is incredible because we had to go back so far. I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. That's when they ran a tough country. To target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. And I am hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer. And I will immediately ban all sanctuary cities in the United States of America. We will have them no longer.